My Saturday night takeaways, my thoughts having watched a whole day of Champions Cup Rugby, the final round of pool games, and you didn't think I had anything better to do in my life than sit and watch rugby all day and then talk to you about it, did you? Of course I don't. That's all I do. I will talk about Friday night's games as well. I didn't watch any of those live because I was actually working at a Challenge Cup game where something happened that I think you'll quite enjoy. So I've got a bit of a treat for you at the end of the video today. So do stick around for that one. Something that I was involved in that I think you'll find quite entertaining. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Tim. This is Egg Chasers. And without further ado, let's get into the rugby from the weekend so far then. Starting in Pool 1, I'll go through pool by pool and we'll talk about where things are currently left in terms of qualification and seedings for the knockout stages. Remember, 16 teams qualify out of the 24 in the pool stage, and the top seeded team, top ranked team will play the 16th, second will play 15th, and so on, with the better seeded sides obviously getting a home advantage. Home advantage is going to be something that the Bulls and Bordeaux both have in the knockout stages. In Pretoria, an amazing game was played out, 46 points to 40. It was insane. Just as much as you'd imagine with a scored line like that. And both teams fielded a few changes. Some of the big name players were kept out. Arendse, Moody, Van Staden for the Bulls. Penno, Jalibert, Luku, Moefana for Bordeaux. Nevertheless, they played an ace game. And like the depth of South African rugby is frightening. Like the Bulls' third choice wingers were ace. And the back row options that South Africa have got, I mean, they stack pretty much every European team with a couple of South Africans in the back row that they don't seem to need for their national team. And here we had a future Springbok in Cam Hanekom just looking amazing, and Elrig Lowe, another future Springbok you'd imagine coming off the bench to do more damage. Marcel Coetzee, yeah, he's a bull of a man. They don't need him. It's just frightening. I really want to see these two teams go full bore head to head. One question though, why was the attendance so low? And is it because the Champions Cup isn't really capturing the imagination in South Africa? Or was it, I don't know, was it the fact that it was a red hot African afternoon at 3 p.m? Is that why people stayed away? They thought better of it and wanted to stay in the shade. Let me know, I'd be interested in that, and leave your other comments on the Champions Cup and what you think down below, because there's lots to talk about. And the Bulls, they'll be happy with the win, and they'll also be happy that Leon didn't go ahead of them in the pools, because Saracens got a win to qualify themselves. They needed to win, they had to win, and this man, Maro Itoje, basically single-handedly dragged his team to a victory, which it looked like was going to evade them. I'll tell you one of the turning points in this one. David Niniashvili for Leon, amazing Georgian winger and fullback. He's a class act of a player, but he gloated a bit too hard. He sort of got in the Saracens players' faces, gloating a bit. He was having a great game, but that seemed to switch Saracens on. They got a bit angry after that. He poked the bear and it backfired because Saracens suddenly clicked into gear. Owen Farrell, it's hard. He didn't have a great game, but then it's hard for any fly half to play behind a pack that is just not doing its job. The Saracens have got an issue with scrums. Billy Vunipola looks like a spent force. They've got some issues they need to address, but they're in the competition and they live to fight another day. In the other game in Pool 1, Connacht beat Bristol on Friday night in Galway. Neither team qualified for the knockout stages, so not a great deal to talk about. In fact, it was a strange game to have on the Friday night to kickstart the weekend. Just felt like a bit of not a lot of energy in that one to kind of get things going, because there wasn't that much on the line. There was a red card in the match that's got a lot of people talking online. Josh Caulfield for Bristol. I mean, to me, that looked like a pure accident. No intent whatsoever. The Connacht player was lying on the wrong side, and there's a little bit where I kind of go, well, if you're gonna lie there, you can't complain if someone accidentally has a boot connect with your face. I know that sounds harsh. He got the red card. Yeah, fine, you can argue it was reckless. And I know a lot of people have said intent isn't important. I do think intent should be a factor. Because consider this. Imagine he'd actually been physically trying to stamp on his face, but missed. You'd still give a red card for that, wouldn't you? And a really long ban as well, even if he hadn't made contact, because the intent was there. Similarly, when it appears to be a complete accident, I hope they go easy on him, because that, to me, that felt a bit harsh. That's the way Pool 1 looks with one more and with no games to go. All the games in Pool 1 have been played. And yeah, Bordeaux, the Blues, Leon and Saracens all qualify. On to Pool 2, where it was an absolute beatdown for Ulster against Harlequins. Sorry competition for Ulster it's been. They just can't, I don't know, they can't seem to string it together. They were actually playing quite well for the opening quarter, but then just comical, farcical defence meant that Quins somehow found themselves well ahead. It was so farcical that the Quins coaches were laughing at some of the tries because they couldn't quite believe it. And players that were hoping to pull on an Irish Test jersey, like Jacob Stockdale, and guys that want to get into the squad, like Robert Balakoon, just had absolute nightmares. Tom Stewart, Tom O'Toole as well. It's like Nick Timoney seems to be the only Ulster player that's really rolling his sleeves up and having a crack. And it was a tough day at the office for Stephen Kitsoff for Ulster as well. He got outshone by Joe Marler today. Joe Marler is playing some awesome rugby. Now, when the England squad was announced earlier this week, I said I think Joe Marler might be the best loosehead prop in the world at the minute. I forgot about Oxenchae and I said straight away, no, Oxenchae is the best loosehead prop in the world. But I sort of suggested that Joe Marler might be there or thereabouts after that. And I got quite a lot of comments going, you having a laugh? What are you talking about? What a joke. I stand by it. I think if Joe Marler was South African, he'd be in the squad and he'd be a contender for the matchday 23. I'm not saying he'd get in ahead of Kitsoff and Oxenchae, but he'd be very close and he might even get a spot. I think Joe Marler's playing some amazing rugby, and he's still got the wherewithal to have a little bit of a joke and try and untie one of the Ulster players' shoelaces during the match as well. So he's a one-off as well. Danny Kerr is absolute class. Andre Esterhuizen, if he were any other nationality but South African, he'd have 50 caps and be the first name on a team sheet. That guy is different gravy. So good win for Harlequins. And what else? Oh yeah, Racing beat Cardiff comfortably at La Défense Arena. This is kind of one of the jokes of the competition. Racing finally got a win in the competition. They've won 1 game out of 4. They've got a grand total of 8 points. And they've made it to the knockout stage. This is one of the issues with the format. 16 teams getting through from a 24-team competition just kind of, it renders the pool stage not irrelevant, but not as tense and exciting as it should be. The knockout stages are going to be amazing. They're going to be box office. This pool stage, it's a bit meh for me, because Racing, 1 win, getting through, what? But they've done what they needed to do. The final game in Pool 2 is Toulouse against Bath on Sunday, and Toulouse, you'd imagine, will probably win that one at home and be the top-seeded team. So, yeah, that should be very interesting, and I'm interested to see how Ollie Lawrence goes with my England hat on, with a number 12 jersey on his back, because you'd imagine that's what he's going to be wearing for England. So, yeah, one to watch. As for Pool 3, a famous win for Northampton in Thomond Park. Munster don't lose very often there, but they finish the pool stage with 1 win from 4 as well, because they kind of, the story of the pool stage for Munster, should have beaten Bayonne, probably should have beaten Exeter, and probably should have beaten Northampton. And certainly at half-time, the Irish pundits that I heard weren't even contemplating that Northampton might win. They were thinking, well, Munster are going to win. It's just a question of by how much. And a big part of that is because Northampton were down to 14 men in the first half. Curtis Langdon, the hooker, got a red card for, I'll come back to him in a minute, for a knee to the head of Tom Ahern. I hope Tom Ahern is okay. This red card, I've got less sympathy with Curtis Langdon. I still think on the balance of probability it was an accident, but it's harder to make that case when you look at some of the angles. At one point he looks down at his head as the knee is making contact, so it's harder to make that call, and you could, I don't know, are we refereeing on outcome here? And slow-mo, that's one thing I will say, slow motion is not how referees should watch these incidents. They look so much worse in slow-mo. If you need to work out whether there was a grounding or where contact was made, fine, look at slow-mo. But as soon as you've established, I don't know, for example, a high tackle, yes, head contact, then you need to go back to looking at it at full speed, because slow-mo makes it look so much worse. As I say, I'm kind of okay with that as a red card. Feel a bit sorry. It didn't ruin the game at all. And more importantly, I hope Tom Ahern is okay. Courtney Laws, I tell you what, Steve Borthwick, get yourself a checkbook if you still have one of those. I know I don't think I have a checkbook, but let's assume Steve Borthwick's got a checkbook. What you need to do, tear out a cheque, go to Courtney Laws, hand it to him, give him a pen and say, write whatever you want on that, just come and play for England. He's England's best player. He should be England captain. He's the best blindside flanker in the Northern Hemisphere. Second only to Pieter-Steph du Toit in the world. He should be playing international rugby. What a player. He was absolutely imperious in this match. And at the other end of his career, Courtney Law's coming to the end of his career, Finn Smith, you think, has got a long international future ahead of him. It was kind of the potentially the future of England and Ireland at fly half in this one. Jack Crowley for Munster, Finn Smith for Northampton. Finn Smith looks very, very special. That drop goal he did and the way he just nudged Northampton into the right parts of the pitch. Such maturity on young shoulders. And a lot of people have been saying, right, Owen Farrell's gone, so is it George Ford or Marcus Smith? It might be someone called Smith, but it might be someone that plays like a young George Ford. Don't be surprised if before too long, not this year maybe, but soon enough, Finn Smith is the man wearing 10. He looks ace. So, yeah, let me jump on then. What can I say about... Oh, before I leave that one, just talk about Munster. They are missing a lot of players. Kilcoyne, Clane, Sneyman, O'Donoghue, Idogbo, Mike Haley. But they still should have had enough to win. They just didn't manage the game. The bench that they're bringing on isn't good enough because of all the players that are out, as I mentioned. But I don't know. Is it the top 2 inches or is it just as simple as those injuries? Maybe it is, They've won trophies and they've had good years. They live to fight another day. They'll be in the knockout stages, but it's going to be quite a tough ask whoever they go and play. Glasgow. Sorry, well, not Glasgow. Yeah, Glasgow. They got a win against Toulon, didn't they? And Sione Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones combining in the centre. Good news for Scotland. They've got options. Do they go Cam Redpath? Do they go Hugh Jones with Sione Tuipulotu? It's going to be an interesting one to watch, but Tuipulotu combined beautifully in this one. And I'll tell you the other player that I'm finding really impressive at the minute, Matt Fagerson. Is he going to be starting in Scotland's back row? You'd imagine he would with some of the performances he's putting in. He's really, really showing up. Toulon, abject, out the competition, 2 points. The only team ever to win the competition 3 times in a row, what La Rochelle are trying to do this year, Toulon. They're looking poor just now. And that is how, with one more game to play, Exeter going to Bayonne, you'd imagine Exeter are going to win that game because Bayonne cannot qualify. So, yeah, there we go. 2 English teams at the top. I was not expecting to see that. I will confess. On to Pool 4, and it was Leicester v Leinster. And I loved this. Proper Champions Cup match. It was a full crowd, really loud, noisy Leicester fans. They were great. They always are great. 2 full-strength teams. It was great. And a win for Leinster, 10 points to 27. They got the bonus point right at the death as well. The scoreline probably flatters them a little bit. Leicester were definitely made more of a contest of it than that scoreline suggests. But I'll tell you what, it was like a good first 20 for Leicester and a really solid 60 for Leinster after that. And some of their key players for Leinster and for Ireland are coming into form at just the right time. None more so, I don't think, than Tadhg Furlong. I haven't seen him look that energised in a while. And he looked like he was a waning force, but might have been wrong about that. He looked really good, as did James Lowe. He just looked strong and powerful. And that left boot of his is a get-out-of-jail free card for Leinster and for Ireland. This guy, James Ryan, looked great. Joe McCarthy as well. Robbie Henshaw. Gary Ringrose always looks great. But those other players I mentioned, just coming into form at the right time. Jordan Lama can... I don't know. Jordan Lama and Sidesteps, name a more iconic duo. And yeah, the one person I haven't mentioned, Andrew Porter. Firstly, they kept adding more and more tape to his head, so I thought he was going to end up like a mummy. He absolutely schooled England squad member Joe Hayes. Andrew Porter has been criticised for his scrummaging in the past, lauded for all the stuff he does around the park, sometimes criticised for his scrummaging. He looked mean in this match. Absolutely smashed it. As for the young 10s, Harry Byrne, I think he got stuck in, put his shoulder in. I thought he gave a good account of himself. And Sam Prendergast, the future of Irish rugby at fly half, he looks class. Looks like he could do with putting on a few kgs. When he does, watch out for that guy. He's going to be great. Good win for Leinster. They're going to be ranked at second, you'd think, in the pool. second overall, sorry, because Toulouse, you would imagine, are going to win. And La Rochelle plays Sale in the game there. You'd imagine La Rochelle will probably win that one. But elsewhere in Pool 4, Stade Francais, as you can see, finished at the bottom, and that's because they got beaten in Paris by the Stormers. Yes, the Stormers won in Europe. Hold the front page, hold the back page. The Stormers won in Europe. They're 5 from 5 now, 5 in a row, but this was different because they won in the north. They're absolutely fantastic on those brilliant Cape Town conditions, fast track, nice new surface, beautiful conditions, dry ball. When the conditions get a bit worse, when it's colder and not as conducive for that, they don't seem to do as well. They've struggled away from home by their standards. A win in Paris against Stade Francais, who had to win and were going for it, is no mean feat. The crowd was awful for this. That's one of the negatives. The Stade Francais crowd really they've kind of given up on it. But Stade Francais, the team, did not, and they looked good to start with as well. They came out firing. The Stormers were rattled, but that's what I think was impressive about this one. I watched the first 20 and thought, here we go again. Stormers not really travelling very well, especially north. But no, the scrum delivered. The bench made a difference. And the scrum made such a difference that it was almost farcical at the end. Penalty after penalty after penalty. Yellow card, right, go, right, yellow card. You can't sort it out. And then, because they had to go to uncontested scrums, they had to lose another player and went down to 12, did Stade Francais. I thought Luke Pearce handled all that quite well. A bit of a farce. Yeah. So they're on a bit of a bounce. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Marnie Le Boc. I talked about him in a previous round. Said how it's obviously like he's a world champion, so I'm sure he's very, very happy. But on a personal level, it must have hurt a little bit, whilst he was most importantly part of a World Cup winning team, and that's all that really matters. He must have been a little bit disappointed that he wasn't the guy wearing 10, having taken South Africa to that point for Andre Pollard to take his spot. And he's taken his medicine on that, and he's come out looking like a guy that's taken it on board. His kicks were brilliant in previous rounds. Today, what I really liked about him was the defensive work. He was getting stuck in. And yeah, that just feels like Marnie Le Boc is becoming a more rounded 10. And you wonder if the World Cup experience is part of that. Yeah, the fundamentals got Stormers through to a win. And yeah, got them through to a home match in Cape Town, which is massive for them. Bearing in mind how good they are in Cape Town, to have a home round of 16 is huge. You would not want to be the team that has got to go there and play that one. I'd love to be there watching it. I plan to go to South Africa, as I mentioned, a couple of times this year, to Cape Town. I'd like to catch a club game at some point. But anyway, that is the rugby so far. More rugby to come. There'll be more videos to come. I mentioned that I've got a little treat for you at the end. So Friday night, I was working on the Challenge Cup, and it was Gloucester against Castres, the best game of the round in terms of qualification and stuff. And I dished out a Man of the Match award, and I'm going to let you see that because Jamal Ford Robinson, really top bloke, just gave one of those really memorable Man of the Match interviews, and I thought you might enjoy.
This man right here is absolutely buzzing. Jamal, congratulations. Are you right? You just shared with me that's your first ever Man of the Match award.
I'm pretty sure that is the first ever, and buzzing. Love it.
How many years you been playing rugby?
Properly since I was 16, so like 14 years.
Oh, well done, and absolutely deserved for that dominance up front. It's a unique thing being a prop. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Crowd appreciating that. It started with that scrum dominance up front. Well, that was the platform. We know what a unique role you have. What does it feel like 30 minutes in to see both the opposition props strolling off?
I kind of just wish I was in their shoes, to be honest. Do 30 minutes and get subbed off. It's a lovely job, isn't it?
And as for elsewhere in the pack, some shift you boys putting up front.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it set the platform for the game. The rest of the boys took it to them, but do you know what? I've never got Man of the Match before, so I'm just going to say it was all me. Well done, me. I'd like to thank me and everyone watching me. It was good. It was a good team effort. Absolutely loved it. Obviously, this Europe's going really well for us. try and take it into the Prem, but I think we'll enjoy that one for now.
Oh, I can tell you're going to enjoy that one. Jamal, congratulations.
Cheers, thank you.
That is what it's all about, isn't it? What a guy. What a guy. I thought you'd enjoy that. That was my Friday night. My life is rugby. I've got a very understanding wife and family, and that's why I'm here talking to you again, as I plan to be many, many more times with Six Nations Rugby, with Champions Cup Rugby. So hit subscribe, leave your comments down below, give the video a thumbs up, that really helps, and I will see you on the next one.